Hello, my friends. I would like to explain the distinct and different benefits of visualizing when using a neuroplastic approach to healing versus the other tools that we use, like somatics, moon elevation, things along those lines. Thank you to those of you who asked this question in the comments. I explain this on coaching calls all the time, and for some reason had not thought to put it in a nugget here. So there are some very distinct differences between the effect that visualizing has on the brain versus our other tools. And that doesn't necessarily make it better or worse. It's just different. And it's more about figuring out what tools, what approaches you need right now at this point in your journey, what's beneficial to you. So there's three big differences or benefits, I'd say, or qualities that visualization has that other things don't. The number one is self-mastery or containment. There is something incredibly powerful about sitting down and creating a whole scenario and really creating the feeling that you want to have in response to every little thing that happens in that scenario, whether it's sensory things like this is how I respond to cold or to heat or to other people or to foods or environments. You get to set the ambiance, depending on what you're rewiring. You can say, I'm walking into this restaurant with all these noise and lights and smells and people, and it's this wonderful experience of being, feeling alive, feeling connected, having a special night out with someone that I love. Whatever the vibe is, whatever the positive emotional connection you want to have with that, you are the one deciding how you respond emotionally to everything in a visualization. And it's a controlled environment, which is huge because you can't get that anywhere else. Like if you actually try to go out in the world, there are a bajillion factors that are outside your control that make it harder to rewire because the brain's going to be more hypervigilant and more on alert, and things can go sideways where you're trying to help your brain feel safe with something, and then something can happen that totally ruins that. That can't happen in a visualization, not in the same way. Even if your limbic system resists, you can work with that resistance and heal and create a bridge with that resistance in a visualization. But you are truly in a controlled environment, which is a phenomenal, amazing thing that is so necessary for so many of us with certain situations and things that we're rewiring around. Even rehearsing, like using visualization to rehearse how you want to respond to challenging situations or people. You can rehearse the neurochemistry and nervous system state of approaching conflict with another person or certain situations that you've struggled with interpersonally in a controlled environment where that person is just a figment of your imagination. So you can figure out how you want to respond and learn how to embody that, but no one's actually there to throw you off. Like you just get to get better at feeling how you want to feel and speaking the words you want to say in the way you want to say them. And now that's familiar and you have a neural pathway for it so that when you actually go do that thing in real life, your brain has a neural pathway to use other than whatever the old ones are that you don't want anymore. But you got to do it in a controlled environment where it was safe and there was no possibility of being attacked or anything happening that feels unsafe. So that's huge. Self-mastery, containment, and having that controlled environment. Then brain exercise. It is much more like visualization. You have to be creating the visuals, filling in the details, deciding the emotions, deciding the storyline, and then pumping out all the chemicals, the neurochemicals that are the emotions that you want to be having in response to that, coming up with the senses, imagining how it feels to be immersed in a really lovely, hot spring, or curl up in bed or on a hammock outside, or, whatever it is. You can really tune in and create this strong response of this is how I respond to these stimuli. So it's a lot of exercise for your brain, which is great if that's what you need. If you're this is very general. This is not a coaching call. I can't speak to you directly, but generally speaking, if someone's in a lot of freeze or a lot of dissociation, that amount of exercise, a lot of times it can actually be unhelpful. Like less visualization and more somatics, more gentle things where the brain doesn't have to work as hard are often more supportive for freeze or dissociation. But for a lot of people, and also that's why I, as a neuroplasticity coach, my approach or my official position on visualization is that if it's going to be something that works for you at all, it's going to be most important in the first 6 to 12 months of your brain rewiring journey. At that point, you have exercised your brain sufficiently, you've created these pathways, and now you want to integrate that more into life. But with getting it set up and doing the exercise to create that foundation is really pivotal in that first year, especially when we're using visualization as a way to interrupt and replace unhealthy pathways. We're really kind of calming and containing this just out of control limbic system that's just going haywire constantly. It's really most valuable, I think, in that first 6 months to a year. The last one is it's a very specific kind of rewiring. So kind of to what I was saying, where it's like when you really take the time to sit down and really rehearse how you want to respond and experience every little nuance of anything. I used to visualize things like brushing my teeth and getting ready for bed and how I wanted to feel at the end of the day, or, meeting up with a friend and practicing in the visualization instead of getting overexcited and fawning like I used to. Like, I would do a visualization of meeting a friend, and most of it would be feeling my feet on the floor and my butt in the chair and feeling like the wind on my skin. And then it was like, I'm grounded, I'm here, I'm in my body, I'm present, and I'm having this nice, pleasant interaction. But again, it got to rehearse that in a controlled environment before I would go do those things, so I could really train my brain that this is how we're showing up for these situations now. This is how I'm choosing to feel at this time of day, or in this scenario, or when I show up to work, or when I, wake up first thing in the morning. This is how I want to feel. And again, that's invaluable. It's like the difference between a general exercise routine or even natural movement, which I'm a huge proponent of, like squatting in nature and hiking and wearing barefoot shoes and climbing trees. And so, all of that's great. But part of it is like, again, if you've been living in the modern world, your body is not in condition to do natural movements without it being too much of a load a lot of the time. And in this situation, our limbic systems are not in a position to be able to just crank out a healthy response to life. So it's like corrective exercise. Visualization, you're getting the chance to sit down and really rehearse and wire in how I respond in these different situations, so that when we do go elevate our mood and we do go do life, we're making the new healthy pathways we created in visualization stronger and deeper, but we're not continuing to use the old ones where we're responding in fear, responding with avoidance, responding with hypervigilance, engaging from fawn or dissociation or whatever. So that's really big. Again, that corrective, mindful wiring in of things specifically it has a unique purpose. So it's really, really powerful tool. It's an irreplaceable tool. It's very different than anything else. And like in the video I made called Elevate That Mood elevation has a different role. And all of these pieces are absolutely indispensable. Every single one has to be there for the puzzle to be complete. Generally speaking, like I believe people, and I've seen people recover without really using much visualization. It's not the norm, it's possible, but it's more about figuring out how much is supportive to your process where you are, which again is something that I can help you out with one-on-one coaching, but I can't tell you that here. But it's something that is, it's more exercise, more containment, more mastery, has its own use. So if it's something that you're using, knowing this information can help you use it more intentionally for more benefit. And then after that year, I would say a lot of people I see start to wean off and do, going from like an hour of visualization to a day to, 45 minutes or 40 minutes or 30 minutes. And it's still something as you go along where it's helpful to, as you're getting more into life and more into stage 2 and all of this and stage 3, it's still helpful to go back and continue to strengthen and deepen those wires that you're creating and use it as a tool to interrupt, but it just doesn't have the same significance. It's more of like, it's a good thing to keep doing those PT exercises, keep reinforcing those strengths and all of that, but it's not as necessary. All right. Love you guys.